Welcome to Chatting with NDGS Paleo. My name is Becky Barnes, and I am a paleontologist with the North Dakota Geological Survey. So today for April Fool's Day, April 1st, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about one of my favorite critters, one of the first critters that I ever received as a fossil, called a trilobite. So that is our subject matter for the day, is a trilobite. But we're not just going to be talking about it. We're going to be having fun drawing them. They have fantastic little body plans that are very easy to follow along with, so we can actually draw them. So I'm going to set up my webcam pointing down at my canvas, and I'm going to chat and draw at the same time. So you should all be able to see the giant canvas that I have here as we sit and chat. And we should be able to hear. You can still ask questions in the Q&A. Feel free. I can see the Q&A and everything. But we're going to talk about these little guys, trilobites. And thankfully, I just did a trilobite carving demo, so I happened to take all of my trilobites home today. Yes, we are doing STEAM today, not only science, technology, engineering, and math, but we are adding art to the scenario as well. I am a big fan of blending in art with the science because I think it really helps drive home what you're working with. It's one thing to write down the words and the text for what you're studying, but it's a whole nother thing to actually draw them and utilize them and hold them in your hands and figure out all the parts and pieces on there. And for me, it's always helped to draw my subject matter. Now, everybody's different, but we're going to be working with drawing these little critters. So a trilobite is super, super old. Trilobites have been around for a very, very long time, over 500 million years. These little beasties, they were long before the dinosaurs, way back in what we call the Cambrian explosion in the Paleozoic. So deep, deep time. These fantastic little creatures were crawling around the ocean bottoms. And as we work with these, let's start off with their name, trilobite. Trilobite. So here we have, this is actually a metal sculpture. It's pretty cool. So trilobe, you may think that on the trilobite, that means head, body, and tail. But that's not actually how they named these animals. They named these trilobites because of these three lobes. So these side lobes are called pleural lobes. You have a pleura in your body as well. Let's see if I can get this to focus. There we go. You have a pleura in your body as well. Your lungs are called your pleural, or the membrane around your lungs anyways are called pleuras. And here we have one pleural lobe, an axial lobe, which would be like your backbone. Your backbone is your axis. And then the secondary pleural lobe. So all of these creatures have in common this main body plan. So one lobe, two lobe, three lobe. Three lobes, trilobite. So that's where the name is coming from. Now in these creatures, they have lots of variations. Some have spikes, some are smooth. Some have these fantastic little wings or spikes that are coming off their cheek plates, and they can be really, really very spiky and very diverse. I don't have any of the super, super spiky ones, but this is still a pretty good example for one of those little spikes coming off the cheek plate. There we have the three lobes again. Here's his eye. See if I can get it to focus. I know the webcam is all confused because I've got it focused in on the paper down at the bottom. So I see a little question that just popped up as far as, did trilobites die with the dinosaurs? No, trilobites died long before the dinosaurs. All right, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna start a little drawing session here, is we're gonna do a little underwater scene. Come on, camera, there we go. Underwater scene. I'll try to draw a little slower so the camera can keep up with me. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start off with some basic trilobite. And for our basic trilobite here, oh, let's see if the webcam can keep up with me here. I'm going to draw these fairly large so that everybody can see these. I'm going to start off with pencil, just to give my outline in here. We'll go over this again with pen. Sorry for the funky webcam here. And I'm going to divide it up into its 3 main body regions, which would be the head, or the cephalon, and the thorax, which is the body, and the tail, which is the pygidium. It's got 3 different sections. We've got head, body, tail. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it crosswise into thirds, into its 3 lobes. I'm just doing this really light in pencil right now. Go back over the top of it once I get kind of the feel for what I want. Now, after you get this main body plan down, then you can start making it wild and crazy. Now, we are not talking about any specific type. So we're not talking about Elrathia. We're not talking about fake ops or any specific kind of trilobite. We're just going to do a general trilobite. So you can make yours as wild and crazy as you want, or you can make it fairly mundane and simple. It doesn't really matter. So up in the head here, I'm going to put in some eyes, little eye zones. And the eyes are really cool. They are very complex eyes. They are multifaceted, kind of like a fly or crabs, where they have lots of different lenses in their eyes, so they could see all over the place. And if you notice where the eye is positioned, the eyes are on top of the animal, which means that they are looking up and forward so that they can look out for potential predators, other things that want to come and try to eat them. Yeah, we're doing pencil first, and we're going to do pen on top of that. Once we get some of the pencil just kind of blocked in just a little bit, that way you'll be able to see the nice dark pen. But we're going to start off with a little bit of the pencil, just for sketching purposes. Now on the thorax can be divided up into many, many segments or very few segments. Different trilobites have different numbers of segments. So we're just going to block in some right in here, block it in all the way down into the tail. And wherever the segment is in the middle, follow that segment on the pleural lobes on the outside. So these are going to be following along. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the middle, you need 5 on the outer edges as well. Now this is where you can start getting kind of wild and crazy. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those nice long cheek spikes right here, and I think I'm going to add some pleural lobe spikes too, just because I like spiky. Spiky's fun. Zippy. It doesn't matter if your pencil's messy. We're going to go over that in a little bit, so it doesn't matter. Let's add some extra fun pygidium spikes too, some little tail spikes. All right, so there is my basic trilobite. Now they have soft tissue as well, although the soft tissue, come on, focus. The soft tissue on these are very rarely preserved, but we do know that they had segmented legs under the body, and they had little antennas. So I'm just going to add, well, a couple little antennas up here. The legs in this position are hidden by the body, so I'm not too worried about those. Okay, now I'm going to go over this with our pen so that you can actually see it easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, now that we've got our little pencil line in here, I'm going to redraw over the top of that pencil using my pen. So it's a little bit darker, should be easier to see. All the way around. Up into the body, into the little pleural lobes, my little pleural spikies off to the side. More little plural spikies. Spikes are good, right? Spikes are totally good. I don't want to be eaten, so I want some extra spikes. I want to be a unhappy mouthful for whatever predator is trying to eat me. And we'll get our little tail running down there. A little plural or our pygidium spikes. Whoop. There's our pygidium spikes. All the way up there. I'm going to come back up to the head. Gonna get my little eyes right on the side. Eyes right on the side. Now I'm doing a really simple eye. I'm not doing any eye stalks. I'm doing just a very, very simple eye. There are some that have really cool long eye stalks that stick out the sides or the faces, but I'm not doing that on this particular trilobite. Look at the antennas going up. Ooh, nice little curvy. It's like he's got a mustache, prehistoric mustache. Snidely Whiplash, the trilobite. Yeah. Well, these can have little segments. Okay, so there we have our basic trilobite in there. Pretty simple. You can add some more details if you want. Block out that axial lobe if you want. You can go in and you can add some little hash marks for shading, because all of these little segments are going under each other. So if you want to add some extra shading, you can do that. Cross hatching, scribbling. You can do some quick lines here just to show the direction that these are diving. Each of these are fitting like armor into the ones in front of it. There we go. Here is our trilobite. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to break out some paints. Let's see. Now we are using watercolors, so they're non-toxic for the most part. And let's see, what color? How about you guys vote? What color do you think I should make the trilobite? You just type it right into the chat if you want. What color do you think I should make the trilobite? Should it be purple? Should it be blue? Should it be red, yellow? What color do you think I should make this critter? Okay, we're getting some votes coming in. See greens and reds, and more reds and purples, blue greens. Look at that red. There seems to be a few people voting for red. So I think what we're going to do is we'll do kind of a red wash, but for a nice base color, we'll get some orange as a base. So I'm going to work from my light colors, and I'm going to go darker from there. Sorry if this is all wiggly. So yes, I'm going to start off with yellow. Yellow for my highlights. Just get that in there. I don't like working with white paper, so I try to get that blocked in with color as rapidly as I can. That way we don't have to worry about staring at just a big blank white canvas. Make this a little wild and crazy. We'll give it some ground to be walking on too. Because you don't need your trilobite just to be hovering in the vacuum of space. That's boring. So we're going to give it a little bit of a background. Doesn't matter if some areas are brighter, some areas are darker. It gives it some character, makes it a little bit more fun. So here we have that blocked in. And we'll break out our oranges. Like I said, I'm working from my lights to my darks. So I'm going to just work up some oranges real quick here. Bring in some of my Scarlet Lake which is a nice bright red color. And let me show you what I'm doing here. Oh, here's my scarlet lake. Right there. Wash out my brush, and then we're going to add actually a little bit more of an ochre tone to it. We'll tone it down a little bit. There we go. Getting there, getting there. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to use that color to start pulling in some of my shadows. Now, what we're doing right now is something called a wet on wet. This is not specifically watercolor paper, so we'll see how much it fights me. But our edges on here are going to be a little bit more muted. They're not going to be harsh edges because our paper right now, the canvas, is already slightly wet. Even though that water is soaking into the paper, it still stays. So not too many harsh edges in here. Now we're going to come down the edges of our pleural lobes, because that is also a shadow running right around here. Right down the pleural lobe. It's a shadow. This is a high spot right here in the middle, and these are high spots over on the edges. There we go. And we have low spots around the face as well. Now, I didn't draw them in, but they have these really cool features right on their face. And they are lines, little extra lines that they have that goes right across their face, right under their eye, that they use for molting. Now, these creatures are from a group of animals called arthropods. You may know that from any of your insects, your crabs, your lobsters, anything with a hard external shell. These also have a hard external shell. And there are so many trilobites. They were an extremely successful group of animals. There are estimated to be over 20,000, that's with a T, the 1,000 different species of these trilobites. They were extremely diverse. They filled so many different niches. And some were predatory, some were eating little bugs, or not little bugs, but like little worms and bottom creatures. Some of them were scavengers, nature's cleanup crew. Some of them were eating more vegetation. There are actually fossil trackways, not only of trilobites walking, but of trilobites feeding. And some of these trackways, what they think of as the predatory ones, wander around until they hit a worm burrow, and then they stop. And they figure that that is where our happy little trilobite was finding its breakfast. Right along in here. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pulling in this red for an extra. I'm using that scarlet red, that base red, before I mellowed it out with our ochres. Right in there. All right, so here we have our basic dark, dark, dark shadows. Now we're going to bring in, I think, some of our more brown tones for some extra shadows. I have a reddish colored burnt umber in here. And this little color right in here. It's a little bit more on the red end of my browns. And we're going to start bringing out some of the curve of the shell. Not only the curve, but some of the shadows that this critter is casting on the ground as it's walking. Right through there. So yes, these were an extremely successful group of animals, living long before the dinosaurs, filling so many different types of niches, and they had tons of variation, which is why If you draw something with spikes, even if that exact creature has not been found, who knows? Maybe something like that would be found the next year or the next 10 years. They keep finding new trilobites all the time, just like new dinosaurs. Get my little shadow that it's cast in here. Now, I'm going to make it look like its antennas are lifted a little bit up off the ground. So we are going to move that shadow a little bit. I'm going to start off at the base, and then we're going to actually remove that shadow to make it look like those antennas are hovering. And we're not really focused on too much of a realistic light source right now. We're just going to show that these antennae are lifted up off the ground. We'll add some shadows to that too. Curve right up and around. Okay, now I think pull in a little bit of a more blue color to help make those eyes pop a little bit. There we go. I said blue. Yes, it looks red. When you add just a little bit of blue to a color, what you're doing is you're cooling that color down. So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just a few different color theory things as we look at our trilobite. So most of you, I'm sure, in kindergarten even, first grade, understand that we have 3 primary colors. The first of which is your red, next of which is your yellow, and the next of which is blue. So these are your 3 primary colors. And if you blend them, if you blend the red and the yellow together, you end up with orangey tones right in the middle. And if you blend your yellow and your blue together, you get what? Let's see if everybody knows. If I blend my yellow and my blue together, what am I going to get? We get green running through there. And finally, if we blend our red and our blue together, you can get purple. Now, each of these, I'm sure if you have, well, anybody who's wearing clothes, and if you pick out your own clothes, you probably understand that some colors look good on you and some colors really don't. So maybe you're a warm tone, or maybe you're a cool tone, a winter color, or a summer color, a fall, or a spring will help determine what kind of color palette you're looking at. Now, I am a winter, so I like jewel tones, right down in here. I like my colors to be cool and bright. And it's funny though, you think of blue is pretty solidly in there, but purple's kind of interesting. You can get very pinkish purples. You can start blending into those red colors, and you can really make it a warm color. You can make warm colors, more of a plum color versus a cool royal blue. And with your reds, like I like this red. I would probably wear this red. My mom, however, prefers that red, which is a little bit more tomato color. So it has more yellow in it. It's not quite orange, but it's starting to push that tone where it's a little bit more warm. It's not a cool red. This is a cool red. This is a warm red. I know it's kind of shiny right now. Now, for all of the rest of your colors in here, if you mix your secondary colors together with your primaries, you can get your opposite, your complementary colors. And that is how we like to work with some of our colors and our shadows where if I'm not taking, I hate shading with black. Black is a terrible, terrible color with like watercolors to shade with. You want to use, pull in some of those neutral colors, some of the brown tones, and you can make brown with all of these, depending on what kind of brown you want. So in the case of, let's take red, and its complementary color is green. There we go. Red and green. If I add a little bit more red to it, if I add a little bit more red to it, we're starting to get into that kind of earthy brown tone. And if I do, let's take our blue. Our blue, complementary color for blue is orange. So if I take some of our orange in here, it's kind of a brown tone too. I can add some more blue to it as well to bring that back to a more cool brown. And purple, our poor lonely purple here, if we add yellow, this is the one that I hate the most. It's really gross. I think it looks disgusting. If we add yellow to our purple, we end up with more of that color of brown. So you can really mix and match some of your tones for brown, so you're not just sticking brown out of a tube. Although I do love my burnt umbers, my raw siennas, and some of these extra colors of brown are fantastic to use. But this is how you can get some of your some more brown tones, and then just have fun playing with more of your colors. Let's see. So trilobites are really cool because they are found worldwide. They are found on every continent. They're everywhere. You just have to have the right rocks sitting at the surface. We do not have the correct rocks here in North Dakota, sadly. I would be very, very happy if we did. But it is what it is. Now, one thing, we drew our trilobite, and right now I'm just going to work a little bit on showing you trilobite more in a scene. You gotta pick your horizon line. We're going to be doing an underwater trilobite, so horizon somewhere around there. And as you're working with your background underwater, your far back, your distant colors are going to be a little bit more neutral than your close ones. So they're going to be a little bit more grayed out or a little bit more brown. And across here. And things that are in the distant also tend to be a little bit more faded. Pull up blue. There's our sky or the top of the water running up through there, coming down into our faded out background. And there's not a lot of life growing on the ocean floor at this time period. There's no like great coral colonies. There's individual little animals. There's little colonies of some sponges, little tiny things, but we don't have the vast kelp forest that you would see today as a potential food source. So we're not going to draw anything like that. I'm just going to work on just more of a sandy bottom. So we'll grab some more of my brown tones through here. We'll start up here where the sand is going to be nice and bright. And the farther away that I look, that sand, we're going to use our blue one here, which means I'm mixing with some orange. Here's our blue, here's our orange. Further back we go, the more blue it's going to get because it kind of blends in with our horizon. So only the stuff in the front is going to be truly, truly like sandy color. The rest of this is just going to be kind of muddled. And add some little critters crawling around in the background. We do have some fun crinoids. Crinoids are really cool critters. And if you have your things that are growing in the background, they're going to be really faded. So let's add some faded out crinoids in here. Oh, it's all blurry. Why is it all blurry? Come on, focus camera, you can do it. I wonder if it's because, it might just be because my paintbrush end is too close to the camera. All right, so we have some faded out things in the background. So your blue grays are going to come in. You can do some darker ones. So I'm having my ocean current pointing that way. Close things are going to be brighter. Things that are far away are going to be more faded out. I'm going to have some of these little crinoids though, far in the distance. And we're going to add our little trilobite crawling over sand. And I think this trilobite we're going to do, oh, let's stick with that blue theme. We'll do bluish purple. So he's going to be crawling along the ocean floor here. So we'll sketch in the head, the cephalon. Now this is going to be at a slight angle here because we're going back to the horizon. So things in the front are going to be bigger, heading into the back. And we're having what's called a forced perspective. So that means that this critter is going to be slightly, it's going to look shorter than usual. Here's his eye, his other eye. Start drawing in some of those segments, little body segments in there. Here's his tail. This one we'll keep a little simple. So little rounded edges coming through here. Darken up the eye just a little bit. Look at the glabella, which is part of the head running through here. Okay. So this one, because all of our shadows are going to be kind of bluish, we're going to pull out some blue tones for our critter. And I'm going to leave just a couple high spots that are going to be white. We'll just kind of scribble this paint in here. My high points are going to be white just to show some highlights where the light is coming in from the surface of the ocean. Right there. And the highest spots of my shell, I'm also going to leave white. Okay. Now, the further back that I go on this animal, the more faded I want to make it. Stuff on the front is going to be darker. So I'm going to pull out some more of those colors. Real quick here, just to show you. Again, the closer things are to you, the brighter they're going to be. The farther things are away from you, the more faded they're going to be. So this is wet on wet right now. And we'll bring up some of those ground shadows. The ground is pretty barren, but it doesn't mean that it's totally empty. We have lots of, I'll blend in some of this color here. Lots of different hills. Wave action is going to be causing little bits of taller sand and sediment back in here. Like that. All right. I see we are approaching our time at this point, though. So I'll run through some of these questions quick. It says, if this were in North Dakota, would this be the inland sea? This would be long, long before there was the Western Interior Seaway. So these could be found, I believe there's hot spots down in Utah. It's a big spot for finding some trilobites. Feel free to jump in, Jeff or Clint, if you know any hot spots of where they have trilobite hunts. But these are found all throughout the world. Not necessarily our Western Interior Sea, though. That is much, much too young. Oh, yep, you are correct. Elbow, thank you. I forgot the antenna. So used to looking at the fossils, sometimes you forget to add in the soft parts. Whee! I'm gonna have to add a shadow for those. There we go. There's our little shadow. Okay. Thank you for catching that. Thank you. Okay. So for our trilobite fun here, if any of you decided to draw along with me or paint along with me, we would love to see what you created. Feel free to email us or send a screenshot if you did this on a computer, or maybe you did this on a piece of paper. Keep holding that, Jeff. Keep holding that. Nope, put it back up. There's Jeff's beautiful masterpiece. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. So if you drew along with, we would love to see what you created. You can post these to Facebook. We're at NDGS Paleo. You can post it to Twitter. You can take a screenshot with your phone. Feel free to email us at ndgspaleo, or ndgspaleo at nd.gov. There's too many ats and ndgs's. There's just too many. But we would love to see what you came up with. If you do email us, we'll stick them on the end of our video for YouTube. We'll do little screen shares as far as what kinds of things you've created. I want to see how many spikes and cool eye stalks and things that everybody's created. It'd be a lot of fun. All right. So unless anybody, add my little trilobites back up here for fun. Yay, trilobites! It's a whole happy family. Yay, trilobites! What kind of rock do you need to get trilobites? Well, trilobites can be found in a number of different rocks, actually. This particular rock here is just a simple mudstone. This was a big mudstone concretion where the animal was crawling around and it was buried in this mud. And the person who found this took a hammer and went crack, and up popped the top of the mudstone concretion, and here was a beautiful trilobite inside. So that was super, super soft. This particular trilobite is very soft, and I can scratch this with my finger. This trilobite, you can see from the tool marks all around here, is in a much tougher, mineralized, almost siderite, very, very concrete material. So you can find trilobites in lots of different types of rock, depending on what was around at the time. Tomorrow we have another guest speaker. We're going to go on a little bit of a field trip, so virtual field trip. Even though we can't necessarily visit in person, she is going to be here talking about, I believe, Dinosaur National Monument. So thank you all for joining me on my Joy of Paleo painting session with Becky. Hopefully I did a decent job channeling Bob Ross. I spent many, many nights painting along with Bob Ross and my grandma. So that was a little bit of a history nod for me. You can also see all kinds of Bob Ross videos on YouTube. They have 24 hours of painting with Bob Ross. All kinds of fun stuff if this didn't fully fulfill your paintings. Not happy little trees, but happy little crinoids. Happy little crinoids. Happy little crinoids. I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you all for joining me today. And you have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, stay sane, and send us your trilobites. We want to see what kind of trilobites everybody drew. All right. Thank you all, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.